For today's media exploration, our featured product is Tempera Kwik Stix, and we are going to do an under, over, and every way in between exploration to see how we can use these materials in combination with other materials in the art studio. To begin, let's decide what we're going to put for our materials that will go under, especially paints, because those will need time to dry. So the first material we're going to look at is a simple wax crayon. So let's just make some marks and see what we can do when we go under with wax crayon. Next, in quite a similar way, we're going to explore oil pastel. Now let's try washable marker, permanent marker, colored pencil, tempera paint, watercolor paint, okay, let's have our wet materials dry, and then we'll work over on top of them with tempera paint sticks. Now that our wet media is dry and our experiment page is labeled, let's put our Kwik Stix on top. Wax crayon, oil pastel, water-based marker, permanent marker, colored pencil, tempera paint, and watercolor. Let's try different colors. Those are our under experiments using Tempera Kwik Stix. How might you use these in your art project? Now, let's try some over experiments using Tempera Kwik Stix. All of these swatches of color are already dry because Kwik Stix dry in just 90 seconds. So now, instead of labeling with the different materials, I'm going to test out some of the different materials over the different colors. So let's start now with some crayons. I have a yellow crayon and a black crayon, so we can see a light color and a dark color. Those are our crayons. Next, let's try our oil pastel. So I've got the purple from our under experiment and some white. So those are our oil pastels. Now let's try our water-based markers. So I've got red and black. So those are our markers. Let's try our permanent marker. Let's try our colored pencil. I've got pink and black. Those are our colored pencils. We can test graphite. We didn't really do graphite under, but we could test. And I have the blue tempera paint still, so we'll take a little bit on the brush. And we've got our watercolor paints. So we can try a few colors. In our under, we were using the purple, so let's start with that. Let's pick a lighter color. How about orange? And I think we can fit one more color. How about we try, let's try green. Okay, so there is our under experiments using different materials, drawing and painting materials. And it looks like, for the most part, whenever we use a darker color, it really shows up really well. especially on lighter color Tempera sticks. And then if we use a lighter color, that seems to show up pretty good on the darker color Tempera sticks. And for the paint, it looks like it's pretty much the same thing. Before we start experimenting with just the Kwik Stix by themselves, let's check in with our over experiments. So our paint has now had time to dry, and it works great on top of the Tempera Kwik Stix paint sticks. There is no smudging, it doesn't rub off. So these do work wonderfully underneath paints. Now we're going to use just the Kwik Stix by themselves. But to help us out, we're going to do some experimenting. So we need a paintbrush, a water cup, a palette of some sort. I'm going to use this plastic lid, and then I will talk about this a little bit later. So first, let's talk about our paint stick. So we'll just try to draw with the Kwik Stix by themselves, and I'm going to use that to just label our experimenting page. The first thing that you will notice is that our letters are already totally dry to the touch for our first word, quick. The second word is still a little bit sticky, but almost dry. So this dries super fast, which makes it really great and less messy for using in the classroom. Let's look at some other ways we can use Tempera Kwik Stix. So one way we can use them is, of course, to do some color mixing. So let's say we wanted to mix up something that was green. We could use yellow. And we need to work a little bit fast because they do dry so super fast. And we don't want it to dry before we can mix it. And then we can do some of the blue, the light blue. And now we've got a secondary color of green. So we can use these for some color mixing. Let's try some other color combinations so we can see if we can get all of our secondary colors. Okay, so we've got some color mixing that we can do. Let's try also, let's say we want to make a tint. So I'm going to start with just some blue. And I'm going to go on top of it with the white. And there we go, we can absolutely make a tint. Now, making a shade might be a little more challenging because black is a very overpowering color, but let's give it a try. You can make a tint and a shade. And another thing that I want to show you that you can try that's really fun is that you can try laying down some color and then just let that dry for the 90 seconds. Now over here I'm just going to lay down some color for a different experiment that we can try while we're waiting for the pink to dry. Now I'm going to take my darker color and just color it right on top of the pink, basically just covering it all the way up. And while it's still wet, before it dries, I'm going to go in and just kind of scratch or scrape in, and the other color underneath will show through. It's a really fun way to build up implied textures in your artwork. So if you're making something that's like fuzzy or furry, it will work really great. If you go really fast before the second layer can dry, you can make this great textures. Use any pointy object like a craft stick. You could use a mechanical pencil that doesn't have the lead sticking out, or a toothpick, anything like that. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this piece of paper. It's just a piece of scrap paper I've turned into a stencil using a shape punch tool. So these are mini punches of flowers, and I use them to make my stencil. You can do this with any kind of hole punch or randomly cutting shapes. So take your stencil and lay it over the colors that you've already done. And then I'm going to start with a light color, so white, and just color it in. Before I pick up the stencil, I'm going to switch to another color just so that we can see what it looks like with different colors. So we'll try, no, not green. I think we'll try pink. So we'll do some pink on here. And we'll also try the black over up here on the top so we can see how it looks with a darker color over it. So now I'm just going to peel my stencil away. And I have a flower design on top of my other color. So you can do stenciling over with other colors if you want to use a stencil. So that is a fun thing you can try. Now let's do one other thing. So this is a good thing to do if you want to get more of a watercolor effect. So we're going to take some of our colors. So we'll start with red, and I'm just going to color on top of the plastic here. And then I want to wet my paintbrush. So I've got some water, and I'm going to take that and wet this. And you can see it's getting really liquidy. And now I can paint like it's watercolor. This does work a little bit while it's first applied. So if you were to take the tempera paint and before the 90 seconds are up, go back over it, you can spread it if you're really fast. It doesn't spread as well, like it does leave a little bit there, but you can do it that way as well. Let's try that with blue, so you can see how it looks with a few different colors. And you can also layer the colors that way and paint back into them. So let's review the different ways we could do this. So you can blend them together to mix colors. You can get tints, you can get shades, you can get sgraffito or texture. You can do stenciling. You can use them like watercolors. So there's a lot of different ways you can use Kwik Stix basically by themselves without any other art materials. How are you going to use these in your art projects?